Well, when the Endeavour was launched years ago, it came at a value of 13 lakh rupees. Now, even I'm laughing while saying that because it's unbelievable. But why are we really telling you this?
Because Ford's Endeavour, when it came here to India, was like ages ago. It was this one big brawny American SUV and it just wowed everybody back then, didn't it?
That's right. And the point in bringing this to you is because it was that long ago. It was 13 years ago and it took them that long to get a new
Ford Endeavour out. They updated, revised, but finally we have an all-new Ford Endeavour here.
But this time around, it's not the only big, beefy American SUV around. There's another one to contend with, and that is Chevrolet's Trailblazer. Yes, that's also been recently launched. And, of course, when you compare things in this segment, you just can't leave out the king. You just can't.
You just can't leave out the Toyota Fortuner. So we've got all three of them here together to see which one of these top-end, fully loaded variants really cuts it and comes out on top.
When it comes to making an impression, we have to give the Toyota a few brownie points. After all, the Fortuner looks sharp, and that's despite it being at the very end of its life cycle. In this company, some of the Toyota's visual punch is lost, and believe it or not, it's because it's the smallest SUV here. Yes, when it comes to standing out, the competition is clearly between the two Americans. The Trailblazer is longer than the Japanese SUV, and it is the tallest and the widest SUV here. It looks simply enormous, and its blunt design makes it loom larger still. The Ford, however, manages to strike the right balance. Yes, it is huge. Believe it or not, it is longer than the Trailblazer with the longest wheelbase, and it's just 1mm shorter, and in terms of width, it's plenty wide. So yes, it is brutishly big, but the tightly skinned sheet metal gives the Endeavour a crisp and modern feel. It is also the one that feels the most exciting and modern on the inside.
Now, when you get inside the Endeavour, you really feel like, wow. I mean, this gives you a sense of occasion. It feels nice and rich. There's this beautiful double-stitched leather across the top of the dash. There's a nice glossy wood finish in the center. There's a light beige underneath and all around the car, which makes it feel open and airy, and the colors really combine well. There's the dual LCD screens which sit aside the speedometer, and of course the central information display. So it's not only the way it looks, the quality, but it also comes feature-packed.
Well, when it comes to features, all three are pretty well equipped. They pack touchscreen infotainment systems, Bluetooth connectivity, reversing cameras, automatic climate control, leather seats, powered driver seats, and cruise control. But this top-of-the-line Endeavour Titanium Plus offers a bit more. It has automatic wipers, panoramic sunroof, park assist to help you parallel park, and 7 airbags to keep you safe in the first place. The other two competitors offer only 2. The Chevrolet also tries to make an impression on the inside. The Camaro-like hooded dials are a clear highlight, as is the large knob control for the automatic climate control. And while sitting in the comfy front seats, you will appreciate the excellent visibility. The cabin experience, though, feels disappointing because the plastics don't feel rich or solid enough, and the overall design just feels a rung below the Endeavour. When it comes to build quality, the Fortuner feels quite solid, but the plastics are the hard-wearing variety. The dashboard design feels outdated, and the similarity of design to the Innova is a constant irritant. But the Fortuner's front seats are generous. Even in the second row, the Fortuner does a great job of walking a middle path when it comes to space and comfort. The third row is usable as well, just not for very long distances and not for very tall passengers either. The Fortuner is the SUV that offers the most boot space even with the third row up. The Endeavour, however, tries to impress you with its powered liftgate and powered third row of seats.
So the third row isn't really quite exceptional. You can see headroom is quite limited. Knee room is, well, just about adequate. Getting in is a bit tricky, so for full-size adults, spending time in here, it's best that you keep it to a minimum.
Now the back seat of the Endeavour definitely has enough legroom, as you can see. It's ample, in fact. 3 can sit here. The central tunnel is a little high and the console does come at the back, but you can still fit in 3 in the back of this. Now if you opt for the one with the panoramic sunroof, you'll find that the roofline does come a little low, so taller passengers might find it fouling with the top of their head. But let me tell you, I mean, that apart, it really still is a comfortable back seat to be in.
What about the other American? Well, it pretty much sets the bar here.
The middle row of the Trailblazer is actually a great place to be. There's ample room, it is the most spacious of the lot, and even the seat cushioning is the best.
And its third row is easily the best of the 3. Sure, space isn't plentiful, but it will be the most usable here, even for adults. Now let's jump to the other corner and take control. Here on test we have the top of the line SUVs, which means they are all automatics. The Fortuner uses the familiar 3-litre 4-cylinder engine, which comes mated to a 5-speed auto box. It has a full-time all-wheel drive system and 171 horsepower, which is the least of the 3 here. The one sitting on the top of the spec sheet heap is the Ford. It has the largest motor, a 3.2-litre 5-cylinder engine. It has 200 horsepower, a 6-speed gearbox and a proper 4-wheel drive system. Hot on its heels is the Chevy. It has the smallest engine, which is a 2.8-litre 4-cylinder motor, but it makes a hefty 200 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque. This is then channelized through a 6-speed auto box. But the interesting thing is, on the Chevy, the power is sent only to the rear wheels. And without the 4-wheel drive system, the Trailblazer has a near 330 kilo advantage over the Endeavour. So all things combined, it felt quite impressive on the road.
Now this looks like a big lumbering giant, but on the road it actually scampers ahead like a hare. But almost. Whether you're driving at slow speeds in the city, or when you really want to up the pace on an open road, the thing about the Trailblazer is it does it with a fair amount of ease, which makes it really nice to drive. The engine is responsive even at low RPMs, which makes it easy to drive even at low speeds in the city, and put your foot down and it's got plenty of punch to haul you along real quick.
So when it comes to acceleration, the Trailblazer has an edge, with the Endeavour following hot on its heels, and the Fortuner trails a bit behind. While the Ford's performance wasn't too far off the Chevrolet, it had one big strong point.
And credit where credit is due, it's the Endeavour's engine that is the most refined of the lot. And it's a strong engine. In fact, you know, once it gets going, you can really have fun driving it. But the problem really is that it often takes a little while to get going, and that's largely due to the gearbox.
The Toyota, meanwhile, felt a bit gruff.
Now the Fortuner's engine doesn't like to be pushed too hard. Rev it a lot and it becomes audible.
The Fortuner had the slowest numbers of this comparison test, but on its own, it didn't feel lacking out on the road.
If you look at the numbers on paper, the Fortuner is the slowest of the 3. But that doesn't mean that it is underpowered in any way. It's just in this comparison, because it's happy to pot around in city conditions, and even out on the highway, it cruises comfortably.
But what about the sense of stability and security that comes with driving large SUVs? Well, all 3 are traditional body-on-frame SUVs, but some are better than the others when on the road.
Now the Endeavour may be huge and offer that commanding feeling from behind the wheel, but yet it just doesn't feel that big when you're driving it, especially when you're going around the corners. It just feels so car-like. The Endeavour just demolishes the road. It doesn't let the bumps and potholes filter through. And even when you're going quicker, it's the one that's the flattest and most composed.
The Trailblazer starts to feel a bit too old school in this department. It tends to bob around, hop and kick at the rear too. Sure, it is confident around corners, but it tends to roll. The Fortuner isn't the keenest around corners either, but it feels stable and sure-footed cruising on the highway. The ride isn't absorbent enough, and at low speeds in the city, this SUV lets the bumpy road surface creep into the cabin. And what about off-road? The Trailblazer loses ground here as it offers only a two-wheel drive system. It's got the ground clearance to go over the rough stuff. But if you want to do something a little bit more serious, you will have to look at the other two. The Toyota is equipped with a full-time all-wheel drive system and can do a fair bit. But it's really the Endeavour, with its electric mode selection and a host of electronic aids, that makes off-roading a piece of cake.
So we're going to have to admit the Toyota Fortuner, it really has our respects here in this comparison test, especially after what it's gone through, but it is a little bit on the back foot here in this one.
Absolutely, because it's the oldest one around. In fact, its newer version is around, well, not round the corner. It's in 2017, so it's a little while away, especially for consumers who are looking for something right now. And it's because, you know, it is a bit long-toothed, it's the oldest one here.
But it just doesn't quite cut it, whether it's the interiors, the refinement, it just falls a bit short on those fronts.
Absolutely, which brings us to the second newest one in this battle, the Trailblazer.
Really hugely impressive, especially the performance from that engine, the way it drives.
I know, it makes you smile.
And it's also very good if you want to have 7 people on board.
But
Yes, there's the fact that it doesn't offer four-wheel drive. The other two do, and at that price, it just starts to feel a bit expensive.
And whilst we're talking about price, even the interior quality, you know, when you spend that kind of money, you expect something, you expect a sense of occasion, and the Trailblazer just doesn't offer that. It falls short in terms of quality as well, and that's really where the Endeavour shines. I mean, you walk into that cabin and you say, wow, you know.
It feels so modern, it feels rich.
That's not its only strength. I mean, the Endeavour is a perfectly capable package. Its engine is really good, right up there in the competition, and then of course there's that sweet ride and handling package. Yeah, and even sitting in the back seat is really comfortable because the ride quality is definitely the best of this bunch. So when you consider it as a package, I think it is really the Endeavour that comes out ahead, whether you're in the back seat or whether you're behind the wheel. This is the SUV that appeals to you, and it's the one you should buy.